finding yourself a mentor, networking and growing your mind, and learning how to challenge yourself to make change. All on this inaugural episode of the Take Back Your Career podcast.
You need to take action, and you're about to get real-world information and insight for fixing your career. This is the Take Back Your Career podcast with your host, Adam Fullerton.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Take Back Your Career podcast, which is dedicated to helping you find happiness, fulfillment, and financial security in the work that you do. And we do this by interviewing real experts who can provide actionable ideas which can produce real results. And today, our expert and our guest is Andy Safnauer, who is the co-founder of DryFins Swimwear, voice actor and audio producer at Longtrain Productions, and an executive coach and startup consultant at 95partners.com. Andy, thank you for being on this episode. How are you doing today?
Adam, great to be with you, man. I'm excited about what you're doing here, what you're going to talk about, and looking forward to hopefully giving a nugget of help to somebody out there as they kind of navigate what life is right now.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to the conversation. So I wanted to start this off, Andy, by saying that you didn't set out to be a mentor and that it kind of took place organically after helping a few people here and there, which turned into helping more people and so on. So I wanted to ask right up front, as someone who does mentor others, what is something our listeners should realize or know when thinking about or searching for a mentor? What kind of advice would you give these people?
Yeah, that these are the, I think you just had to look around and look at somebody who has, somebody that you respect, somebody that it doesn't have to be somebody in your career path, or maybe somebody that you talk to somewhere. I'm fortunate. I'm part of a group. It's a nationwide group. It started as a workout group here in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's called F3, the letter F, number 3, F3 Nation. And it's the whole thing about it is, what I think before that I joined that group. It was a sense of, I think probably by work with or whatever. But now I know a lot of guys that are in different disciplines, and I figured out, like, that guy's got something that I can't figure out. Let's have a conversation with him. And I didn't necessarily go in all the time thinking this guy's going to be a mentor or we're going to work, we're going to be together and share stuff and try to navigate life together with different things. But, you don't go in with that, but that's where you kind of figure out who that is. And through multiple conversations, I never went in thinking, oh, this guy's going to be a real close confidant of mine, but it's turned out that way. And I've got several guys that are right around my age that I meet with fairly regularly every couple of weeks, and we just get together and kind of we'll do a rundown of what's going on. And I think the other thing too is finding somebody that's going to hold you accountable to what you want to do and where you want to go. And when you speak truth, when you speak what you really want, if you're sitting in a job and you don't know what you want, you really have to. That's self-reflection, right? You've got to decide. You've got to make a choice, and in the end, you'd like to choose rather than having the choice made for you. So you have to decide that. And then when you find somebody that you can have a conversation with, allow them to hold you accountable. Having somebody that can do that for you, that can hold you accountable, and that will, that can guide you a little bit and say, hey, I tried that, and this was a little quicker. Look, failure is the best teacher, right? The whole idea that we're taught that failure is wrong is wrong. Because that's really, if we gave up with failure, we wouldn't be walking, right? As a toddler, you fall over and you get back up. You don't stop trying to walk just because you fail one time. You got to dust your like Jay-Z, not take the dirt off your shoulders and get up and do it all over again.
Absolutely.
And so you've got to have some resiliency, but the resiliency is built in by having people around you that help support you. You can't do it on your. You can't be in a silo on your own and not be willing to share and open up with people. And that might not be somebody currently in your circle. I mean, I think back to my college buddies. I'm not really close with any of them now. And the guys that are closest to me know me far more than any of those guys ever did.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think it makes a lot of sense. And I will say a lot of, when it comes to kind of being your own person, I think what I see a lot of is this problem where people don't feel like they're their own person anymore. They're handcuffed to this idea that their career is what it is and that's all they're going to be able to accomplish. And so I want to ask you then, I guess a follow-up question is, what would you say to someone who feels that way? What would you tell them?
I think one of the first things you have to realize is that you aren't your career. Your job is not who you are, right? That's a key concept to figuring out where things are. If you are a graphic designer, if you are an accountant, if you are a developer, that isn't who you are. That's what you do. You need to figure out what you are really about. And the job portion. So I look at work like I'm gathering wood for a fire. Okay, and so for me, I use that wood as the fuel that builds the fire that makes life worth living. So work creates money, which fuels the stuff that I want to do. I'm not. I don't consider myself a. I mean, I guess I consider myself an entrepreneur, but like that isn't how I would define myself
Sure.
on my headstone, right? So, work to me fuels the fire that allows me to do a lot of other things. And that some people would say, well, you got a couple different things going on. They don't seem to go together. They go together great for me. And they may not it may not be, the answer may be, you may be somebody who works in an office, or you're a salesperson, or you're starting off with a marketing agency or whatever, and you've got this job, and it's kind of all you feel like you have right now, and you don't really want to do what work, but you have interests outside of that. At least I hope you do. Beyond just what you do from 9 to 5. A real quick story. My last radio job, I worked. I worked in hip hop for almost 6 years, and when I got to work with all these guys, it was funny. I when I first got there, I couldn't figure out, like, all these people had, like, guys that worked for me had, they did audio production for me, and then they also DJ'd at clubs, and they might be a on-air person, but they'd also hustle some club work and do some parties and stuff like that. And I was always like, man, these guys are unfocused. And what I figured out after kind of watching them for a bit was these guys just took the blinders off and they saw opportunity everywhere. Now, you have to be able to filter that opportunity, right? I mean, I think if you have a mindset where, I have a deluge of great ideas. I have a deluge of ideas. I have some very good ideas, and I can't pursue them all. But you have to have a filter to be able. But if you open your eyes to not thinking that, and this is once again not defining yourself by your job. If you define yourself by that, I am an accountant, I am a salesperson, then you're not gonna. Then you have the blinders on, and that's all you see. But if you take them off, and all of a sudden you go, yeah, I sell over here, I sell whatever, but man, there's a need for this, or I really dig that. Then it gets your mind going towards something else.
Absolutely. I believe that if you truly do want to take back your career, if you're a listener out there, then, if your goal is to find happiness and fulfillment and financial security, then you definitely need to listen to what Andy just said and take the blinders off and realize that there's so much more out there that you can apply yourself towards and do to build a more meaningful career in life. And so then, Andy, I want to ask you, if someone is trying to figure out that path, and they're trying to, start at square one, what is the one thing that people should start doing, in your opinion, that will help get them on that path towards success?
One thing?
You can list as many as
I'll
you
give
want.
you one. Okay, well, I'm gonna tell you one thing to start with. Wake up early and exercise. And the reason why I feel it's so important is that obviously your health is important. When you're 20 something years old, you think you still think you're bulletproof. You're not. You're eventually going to age, right? The beauty of exercise is that, especially in the morning, is that no matter the way I look at it, when I go and run, 4 miles in the morning, or if I do a boot camp or whatever, I come back and shower, take my kids to school, and start my day. I'm up 1-0. on the day because I've gone out and accomplished something already. I've accomplished something before anybody else has gotten up. And so no matter how my day goes, I'm not going to have an offer because look, we all have offer days, where you get in and there's an email that's chastising you about something or a call for this or a client that or a boss that's pissed or whatever, right? We all have those days. But, when I start off my day with some exercise, getting my day going that way, I know that I'm not going to be in an offer situation for the rest of the day. And so that builds my day every day. That makes a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that one of the things that people, especially in this day and age, unfortunately, a lot of people, they're kind of bogged down with work 24/7. And what happens is that, by the time they're done with their day at 5:30, we've all been there. We all get that slump afterwards and nobody wants to go work out. It's a lot easier to just go home and relax. And, I'll say this a lot in the coming episodes, but it's just easy to go home, put up the feet, chill, watch Netflix, and just kind of let your life kind of float by or fly by, because there's no more, it's a lot easier to do that. But I think getting up early and getting the exercise, the tough part of your day, out of the way, which will only fuel you for the rest of the day. And I think that truly is a great piece of advice.
Well, that's, I appreciate that. That's made a big difference for me. I get up at 4:40 every morning. I mean, I run with a guy at 5:15. We knock out, or we'll do a boot camp, for 45 minutes. Heck, you can get up and walk, throw a podcast on and get some walking in, or, it's funny, the people that are up exercising early are the people you might want to have mentors. It's a great time to find somebody, maybe you have a conversation with that. Those are great times to connect with somebody when you're running or walking or whatever, in those situations. If you don't do the gym, if you're outside doing things, and there's just a lot of benefit mentally, obviously, and physically as well. I think I've already talked about the mentor thing. I think it's important. I think, one of the other key things is making sure you're taking time to read. I hear people say, "Oh, I'm not really into reading. I'm not into that." But it's great to mix in, not only things that interest you, but things that might not be your first choice of something you might read. And I'm talking about, nonfiction stuff, business books or ideas. I did a thing with Seth Godin called the Alt MBA a year and a half ago, and it was really beneficial. I don't agree with everything Seth talks about, but there were a lot of people in that course that people I wouldn't normally connect with how they look at the world or politically or whatever. But putting yourself in a position around people that think differently than you do is key. Don't leave yourself in an echo chamber. That's another way to look for opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of people that nowadays, everybody's kind of isolated, which is, kind of an interesting situation. But nonetheless, I think one of the biggest things I've learned recently is that you need to network. You need to learn more people. The more people you know, the more ideas you can kind of take in or you can talk about, and you can have your own ideas challenged. And one of the things I personally did was set a goal to read 30 books this year. And one of them was Purple Cow by Seth Godin. So big fan of what he said in that book. But I think you are spot on. I think taking in new ideas and challenging kind of the status quo of what you know is only going to help you in the long run. And instead of just kind of, if you only sit down again and take in Netflix, or you only talk to the same people, or you only do the same thing every single day, you're only going to challenge yourself so much because you're kind of sitting in your comfort zone. And one thing I'll say is that if you are unhappy in your career or unfulfilled, or you're not at the level of financial security you're looking for, it's probably because you're doing the same thing you've done every single day, potentially for years. And if you've never changed it, you're never going to have different results. So I think, Andy, what you said is extremely important in terms of networking and growing your mind.
Yeah, it's as simple as to do different things. You have to do different things, right? You have to make a choice, and if you make a choice and it doesn't work out, you have the ability to make another choice, and you can keep making choices. I think when I've spoken to people that are graduating from college, the path of where you start at 21 or 22 and where you are at 30, or you probably you wouldn't have drawn that path, when you were 21. You end up somewhere else than you thought, but you made choices along the way. And if you've got a side hustle you love, and you think like, I'm going to go for that, you can make that choice. And if it doesn't work out, I mean, it might be a little harder right now to say get another job, but you can go back and find some work, right? You've got to be able to assess, what your strengths are and what you can do, but you make the choice, to do different things. You just have to do different things. There's just no other way around it. It's not going to, you're not going to suddenly keep doing the same thing, all of a sudden be struck by lightning and something's going to change. You've got to make a change yourself.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely correct, and I truly hope our listeners realize that change is possible, and if they want change, that they need to make it a priority. So, with all of that said, Andy, I think that was a perfect way to kind of wrap up this episode. And so, I want to ask you if there's anything else you want to touch on really quick before signing off, and of course, ask you to let our listeners know where they can find you if they want to follow up with you personally and have any questions for you.
Well, yeah, I think two things really quick. Just, obviously continue to seek out, learn, always be learning, always be, never know, you're never a completed project. And so know that growth is, life is a marathon and not a sprint. And even small changes, small things that you start today, even as small as they may seem, is at least a small change towards your next step. And don't discount that, even if it's a small change. If it's, I'm going to get up every other day to work out, or once a week, small things. I'm going to meet somebody here. I'm going to do that. All little things add up. So I think, don't think you have to swing and hit a home run every time. You can hit singles and still make progress on a basis, with things. And don't, obviously the idea with your job is not your thing. Also, I think, one thing I did not mention, and one thing that I did not know when I was younger was, I was addicted to stuff. I thought stuff would make me happy. And I will tell you, from where I'm sitting now, that granite countertops will not make you happy. A new car will not make you happy.
Keeping up with the Joneses,
or it's not going to be what you're going to make you happy long term. And don't focus on what other people think about what you're doing. Focus on what's important to you. And I think that'll make a big, chart your own path. I think that's really a key thing. So I appreciate being on. I'm on Twitter at Longtrain, LONGTRAIN. They can reach me there if anybody has any questions or wants to hit me with a DM or whatever. I don't really do Facebook. I have an account there, but I don't really go on Facebook much. I'm on LinkedIn. Feel free to catch me out. It's Andrew Safnauer. I'm sure there'll be in the notes. You can hit me on LinkedIn or whatever. It's a great place to get a hold of me. I'd be happy to, answer any questions or follow up, or if you think all my ideas are stupid, I'd be willing to learn something from you. If you want to comment on something that say, hey, that doesn't work, or I don't understand that, or that doesn't make any sense. If there's something that I can learn from you, I am not above that. So feel free to reach out.
That's great, and I definitely recommend that our listeners reach out to you, Andy. Absolutely. So that's what we have on the episode for today, guys. I want to thank our first guest, Andy Safnauer, once more for being on and sharing a handful of great concepts, such as the fact that you are not defined by your job. It's, again, simply something that you do, and that waking up early and starting the day with some exercise, per Andy, is a great way to kind of start the day and attack the day. And that, remember, mentorship is extremely important, and that there are people out there like Andy who can help you make sense of the path that you're on and help you steer it in the right direction. Also, we talked about the fact that you need to continuously grow your mind and challenge yourself, because you have to remember that where you start isn't where you need to finish. And in my opinion, that's truly powerful. So again, those are some of the concepts from today's episode. I hope you guys truly enjoyed this episode. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next one. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Take Back Your Career podcast with your host, Adam Fullerton. the podcast dedicated to giving you expert advice and actionable ideas so that you can achieve real results and finally take back your career. Like what you heard in today's episode? Consider leaving a 5-star review and visiting TakeBackYourCareerPodcast.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify for more episodes. And remember, Mondays shouldn't suck, and neither should finding help. Thanks for listening to Take Back Your Career Podcast.